Why, hello there. Welcome to Smart Aspirations with Justin Huff. Sit back, chill out, and go on a journey around the world. Around the world. Justin will discuss tales of hope, discovery, and general irreverence with some of the most dynamic personalities in the travel business. Remember, we do cool shit, and so can you.
Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Smart Aspirations with Justin Huff. This week's guest, I was super psyched to interview. I've been dying to talk about more things Nepal since our episode 3 and 4 guest, Jack Wheeler. Nepal is, let me back up a bit. Our guest this week is a gentleman named Vijay Shrestha Einhaus, and he is of Darikas Hotel and Darikas Hotel Group, which has 2, soon to be 3 properties that are scattered all throughout the Himalayan kingdom of Nepal. Vijay is a relatively new acquaintance of mine, but when I had the first chat to say, like, hey, get to know you chat before coming on the show, we really clicked, and I was able to see his passion and his family's passion behind tourism in Nepal and just outside, not just with their hotels, but the entire country. One of the themes that we talk about is Nepal itself and being more than just a destination people think of for going to see Mount Everest. And as we mentioned on episode 4, you don't have to hike to see Everest. You can definitely see it from the air, either by helicopter or by flight, or just a little tiny smidgen if you're lucky enough at Everest Base Camp. So Nepal is a large country in the Himalayas. You've got India on one side, you've got Chinese Tibet on the other. And there are so many things to do that are really diverse, and you're not stretching for activities just to promote tourism. There's a lot of stuff to do. You've got Kathmandu, of course, and Kathmandu has so many different UNESCO World Heritage sites, and we'll get more into that as the episode goes along. But it's just a cultural melting pot between Hindu and Buddhist culture that I thought is really cool. And it's actually got along super progressively over the years. We've got intercaste, interfaith marriages, and it's just a really fascinating melting pot of culture and food as well. I was also really drawn to make the impression to people that Nepal is incredibly diverse in terms of landscapes and climates. And it's one of those places where you're the highest mountain in the world, and then you're going like 70 meters above sea level, where Royal Chitwan National Park is in that area of the southern part of the country. And that's where you can go on safari while you're in Nepal. You can see one-horned rhino, you can see a plethora of bird life, and the superstar Royal Bengal tiger, which you can totally do there. I've sent people, throughout my career, I've sent people to, there's this great place called Tiger Tops. And if you're OG in the travel business, you've probably heard of this place. And that's where people went on safari in Nepal. Geez, like 10, 15 years ago, they shut it down. I can't remember exactly. I wasn't actively selling Nepal when they did decide to, unfortunately, close Tiger Tops. And I knew that that was very nostalgic for a lot of people. But in addition to that, you also have these just gorgeous mountain circuits that you can do. And it's not just the high Himalayas that are quintessential Nepal with the things that are like, over 8,000 meters, the Octausenders. You've also got this beautiful area of land called the Annapurnas. And you've got this, obviously these mountains are stunning, but they're not quite as jagged, quite as defined, snow-capped as the high Himalayas are. And there's just tons of stuff to do in terms of adventure, whitewater rafting, cycling, hiking, just all of it's there. So I hope my goal with this is to just obviously be entertained, enjoy yourself, learn something new. But also, if you've considered a trip to this part of the world, don't just consider Everest and Kathmandu. To stay beyond 3 nights, go up to visit different parts of the country. The flights are very short. The drives aren't very long at all. And so you can cover a lot of ground. For you off the beaten path enthusiasts, I highly recommend the Kingdom of Lo up in Mustang. It's more of a newer up and coming part of Nepal, but it's one of those places that still maintains an authentic Tibetan culture that hasn't been spoiled over time. And recently it's been open to the outside world. So you can land there now. You can land by helicopter. You can land there by plane. And it's just one of those just rare little hidden gems of the world that people are just starting to talk about. So if you're interested, we'd love to hear from you. As always, please subscribe to the channel if you like what you've heard, you've seen, you find it interesting, you want to know more about our up and coming conversations that we have, that we're going to be featuring over the next few weeks. And as like I wanted to say as well, it's we're getting close to October now, and we've been doing this COVID thing for quite some time. It's I really hope that everybody's doing that you're keeping safe, that your friends and family and loved ones are keeping safe, and that everybody's kind of we'll take the last 3 months of this year, 2.5 months of this year, and make it count. There's still time to do good and do something amazing with your life. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Vijay. Hope you enjoy. Take care. Bye. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Smart Aspirations with Justin Huff. Today is a very special day because it's 9 o'clock at night my time. I've never done an evening interview my time, but I'm actually very jealous because my guest today is Vijay Shrestha Einhaus, who joins us from Darikas Hotel in Kathmandu. And it's 9 o'clock in the morning there, and you're just getting started with the day with some tea. Mate, how are you? You look bright-eyed and energetic and ready to go.
Yeah. We're just starting the day, so we're excited to be part of your podcast, and I think it's a good way to start the day. So we're looking forward to this.
Well, I mean, it's so cool. Like Nepal has been everybody's heard of Nepal for Everest, and what a lot of people don't realize is that it's a large country, and it's just way more beyond Everest. Tell us a little bit more about Nepal in general, the different areas, and why people should consider it for more than just an Everest flyover and a Kathmandu stopover.
Yeah, that's right. You're 100% right. I mean, everybody thinks of Nepal like, Everest and what else? So they think of, okay, you can go trekking, and what else can you do? So besides Everest, firstly, there are many other trekking regions in Nepal where you can say beautiful landscapes, beautiful mountains. We have the highest mountains in the world. We have the highest peaks. But that's not all. I mean, we have a very diverse culture, very interesting, very unique culture where we have a blend between Hinduism and Buddhism. So we have a Hindu tradition, we have a Buddhist tradition, and that has basically come into one way of life, which is, I think, very interesting to observe for today's generation. And then, of course, in the south of the country, which most people don't know, we have wildlife. So we have the Bengal tiger, we have the one-horned rhino.
Right.
So you can do safaris. So there's a lot of interesting things you can do in Nepal. Kathmandu, for example, has 7 World Heritage Sites which you can visit. It's, I think, one of the most dense places in terms of World Heritage Sites. So there's a lot of activities besides going trekking and mountaineering in Nepal.
Well, sure. I mean, I think that wildlife enthusiasts, people that are, that have these little bucket lists that they have to tick off their box, like, Africa, Galapagos, Antarctica, and they think of a tiger safari, and they automatically think of your neighbors south of you, and which also has great stuff there too. But I think that Royal Chitwan National Park is a phenomenal wildlife destination, and it's absolutely beautiful. And is that can you see both the rhino and the tiger in this park, or is there different parks that you have to go to?
No, it's a wildlife. So Chitwan is a wildlife conservation area. So you have the Bengal tiger there. You have the one-horned rhino there in the park. So you can go on safaris and you will see those animals in wild. You also have wild elephants, actually. So there's not only those two. There's much more to see. And actually, maybe interesting is that Nepal is, I think, leading in the percentage rise of growth in tiger population.
No kidding.
So they're doing good work on the conservation, on the wildlife conservation front. So I think it's a pretty interesting product for Nepal.
Yeah, you always hear stories of, like, human population encroaching on wildlife and how it specifically affects tigers. And that's incredibly positive news to see that Nepal's tiger populations are increasing. There's an area that has always kind of spoken to my heart, especially as an adventure enthusiast, and that's Pokhara and the Annapurnas and everything. The Annapurna Sanctuary is something that people always talk about. Now, are these areas, in terms of trekking, is that something that you have to be super active, super fit to do, or do they have circuits for anybody in a decent amount of shape?
They have different kinds of circuits. So there are circuits for people, let's say, in decent amount of shape, and there's also different lengths. So you can go from 2 weeks to 5 days. So you can do different routes in the Annapurna region. Scenically, actually, it is, I think, the most beautiful region, scenically wise. The forests, the vegetation, the landscapes are most spectacular. Actually, more spectacular than in the Everest region is the Annapurna region.
So it's like get these like stark, like these incredible greens too, with the lush.
Yeah, you have beautiful forests. Like you have a rhododendron forest which you walk through, and if you go in the right time, you have these beautiful flowers all around you. You have, I think, and the spectacular thing in Nepal, which people need to understand, we go from 8,848 meters
that's
to
incredible.
about 70 meters.
70,
70, yes, and that within 200 kilometers. So you can imagine that the change of landscapes just that you can see within a very, very short range. And I think that change of altitude just gives this spectacular, different zones that you find here.
Right, I had no idea. That's insane. That's really cool. I mean, like, I just can't imagine that drastic of a change just within a few hours or a couple of kilometers.
Yeah. I mean, if you're in Chitwan National Park, you can see the mountains on a good day.
No kidding. And what part of the country is the 70 meters above sea level?
So that's in Chitwan. So Chitwan is in the south. Okay. So basically, if you look at us, we are a very long country, very long, but very not very broad.
We'll throw up a map. We'll throw up a map for the YouTube video. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have 1,000 kilometers from west to east, but we only have about 200 kilometers from north to south. Mm-hmm. So that north to south is where this goes from 8,800 to 70 meters. So that's crazy. That's the interesting part. And I think that's why also we are so also from cultural, that's why we're so diverse, because we have these big changes in terrain, big changes in living conditions for humans. I mean, you have to imagine people living at 4,000 are going to live in a very different scenario than people living at 70 meters. And we are in a tropical region, and still at 4,000, everything's going to be cold. There's going to be snow. It's going to be windy. And then at 70, we are going to be reaching nearly 40 degrees in the summer. So it's quite a variety.
It's not what somebody would typically envision, which is really cool, and kind of like why we're doing stuff like this on the show is talking about this stuff and uncovering these types of misconceptions. You just mentioned that Kathmandu and the surroundings have 7 World Heritage Sites. How long do I need to stay in Kathmandu to see all of these? And can you tell us a little about the sites?
So I would say like a average land stay for our clients that we have that stay with us in Kathmandu is normally about 3 nights. Mm-hmm. So you about 3 days to look at the city, see the different sites, and to get a feel of the culture. The culture is, again, it's like a melting pot between Hinduism and Buddhism.
Yeah.
So you have very let's call it powerful Hindu sites like the Pashupatinath temple, which is actually just 5 minutes from us, which is the most powerful Shiva temple and a destination where every Hindu has to come once in his lifetime.
Okay.
And then you have about 5 kilometers from the temple, you have Bauddhanath Stupa, which is one of the biggest stupas in the world. So that's a Buddhist site.
Okay.
And actually, the interesting thing is that these, these two philosophies have basically merged. So if you go to the Badrinath Stupa and you enter the stupa, and you will see on the side a small little Ganesh statue.
Oh,
so Ganesh
cool.
is a Hindu god,
Yeah.
and that's there for protection.
Right.
So you can see, and I think, especially in today's world, I think it's interesting how these two, religions, philosophies, can live in harmony and can, emerge into, let's say, something greater.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would imagine that it wasn't always like that, but sort of like over time. I mean, you had mentioned to me once that Nepal has 80 different ethnic groups and 2 major religions going on in there.
Yeah.
I mean, over time, you see, I mean, do you see a lot of interfaith, intercaste marriage in modern Nepali society?
Yeah. I mean, now, of course, Nepal, especially Kathmandu and the biggest cities, they're all not modern, but they're modernized, and the caste system, I mean, is of course, people are still, they know what it is, but it's not anymore that it determines your lifestyle. It doesn't mean you come from a lower caste, you can't make it in the world.
Sure.
Which used to be case, in the let's say hundreds of years ago. That is not prevalent anymore. Of course, if you go very remote, to very remote villages in Nepal, then those kind of problems still do exist. So we can't say that it's completely eradicated, but of course it's a transitional phase. Everything needs to develop, needs to progress, and the society, of course, is progressing. So these kind of topics, intercaste marriage, caste system, of course, become a little bit less important.
Right. I would imagine.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm the perfect example. So my mother is a Navar, which is the local business community from Kathmandu Valley.
Okay.
My father's from Germany, so you can't have more intercaste than me. And my grandparents are fine with that, so they were fine with that. So
you're the manifestation of progress and change. I love that.
Exactly, I'm the example.
You're the example. Hey, that's a lot of expectations you've got to live up to, man. But
that's right.
Speaking of your family history, why don't you tell us a little bit about it and how Darikas got started?
Yeah, so basically Darikas Hotel is about art and architecture of the Kathmandu Valley. So we have a very unique architecture that you can find here. A lot of intrinsic wood carvings, which you will see once you visit Nepal.
I actually, spoiler alert, I see them right now behind you.
That's right. Just move a little bit, we can see some of them.
Totally.
So this is what this property, was always and always will be about, is the heritage conservation that my grandfather started. So my grandfather started collecting these, wooden artifacts in the 1950s. Mm-hmm. So he did that out of an urge because he saw the local identity disappearing.
Okay.
So these pieces, were no longer valuable, as every developing or underdeveloped country. We were always looking, okay, what can we do new? What can we do? How does the West do it? So people were tearing down the old buildings, and these pieces were sometimes even used as firewood. So he really felt bad about that, and actually the whole story started. Maybe it's interesting, I think, to talk about that. So he went jogging in the morning. It was in the winter months, so pretty cold. So he went jogging in the city, and he saw some carpenters. So they were dismantling a building, and they had these carvings taken all down.
Okay.
And they had a bonfire in front of them to warm themselves. So they were cutting off the carvings and throwing them into the bonfire. And he said, "Guys, what are you doing? You can't do this." And they were saying, "Why? This is old. Nobody needs this anymore." And then he said, "Please stop this. I'm going to give you some money. Give me that piece." And that's how he bought his first piece. And that's, I think, how this idea came about. Okay, we need to do something. We need to stop this. We need to save, our identity, our culture, our heritage. With all progress that needs to be there, that is fine. But we need to still have our own identity.
Sure.
So he started collecting these pieces. So he collected them. And over 20 years, basically, he had no clue what to do with these pieces. We had these pieces here. We had a workshop where those pieces were restored, but he didn't know, okay, what am I going to do with them? So then he came up in 1972 with the idea, okay, I need to sustain this, so I'm going to build a hotel because it's going to give me cash flow to continue my work. Because he was in the government, he was working in the law section, so we didn't have enough money to build this all by ourselves and to do this just to fund the restoration work out of our pocket. So he said, okay, we need to fund this, so let me build a hotel. So if you come to our property, you will see a small house in the middle. That used to be my grandparents' home. That's now the bar.
That is killer. That is so cool.
And then around, they build 5 rooms. So we have a Japanese restaurant. So the Japanese restaurant used to be the reception.
Okay.
And on top of that, we had 3 rooms, and then we had another 2 rooms, which used to be like an animal shed, which then was converted into rooms using the local building techniques and using those wooden masterpieces. So that's how we started in 1972. And then, over the years, every money that we earned, we reinvested basically in the company, grew the hotel. So then my grandfather passed away in 1992. At that point, we were still a guest house. We were still small with about 27 rooms. And then my mother took over, and basically she made it to what it is today. So today we're 80 rooms. We're doing extension for another 30 rooms. So in total, when we are all complete, we're going to have, that's the last part of our collection, actually, this extension. We're going to have 110 rooms, and that's going to be it for the Darikas Kathmandu.
And with the sorry to interrupt, but with the extension that you have planned, is that going to be more of a modern extension, or are you going to incorporate the traditional architecture to kind of
traditional same architecture, traditional architecture? So that's basically the last part of our collection that we have.
Okay.
So as I said, these pieces are all original pieces. All of the pieces that you will see in the hotel, these are all original pieces. And for example, the oldest piece we have is from the 13th century.
Oh my God!
So it's
what is it?
It's a door from an old house.
Okay.
With the 5 different Buddhas.
Right. Oh, cool.
Carved across on top of the entrance, basically. The door is very short, so we're not using it as an entrance anymore. It's just in the facade of the building.
Right.
Yeah. So if you walk into the hotel, you'll be walking right towards that door, so you can see the door immediately. That's our masterpiece, one of our special pieces.
We'll throw a photo.
So we have a lot
for sure.
Yeah, so we have a lot of these kind of pieces, which also some guests like to look at and take a tour around. Our guest service persons are all trained on this, so they will explain this reflects this Hindu mythology, or this reflects the Buddhist mythology, and this is from this century and this is from that century, this piece. So and it creates a very unique atmosphere. I think that is because if you read on our comments, for example, TripAdvisor and so on, people always say it's a very, very special atmosphere. I think it's because this place was built through time, and time even before the hotel started. I mean, these windows were carved for years by these master carvers in the 16th century, in the 14th century, in the 13th century. So this place is truly built through time.
It's almost like you're staying in your own little UNESCO World Heritage Site.
That's right.
To be perfectly honest, it's just so cool to have something like that in Kathmandu, as opposed to staying in some business style hotel that you can stay at anywhere in the world. You guys have complete local flavor and history. That's incredible. And recently, not too recently, but you have a second hotel. You have a second resort property, correct?
Yeah. So we have a second property which we started or we launched in 2013. That is basically completely different to the hotel in Kathmandu. So this place in Kathmandu where I'm sitting now, what you can see in the background, that is about art and architecture. The place in Dhulikhel, which is about an hour's drive, it's a hillside town, nice views of the Himalayas, is about the natural beauty of Nepal and that lifestyle component. So we talked about, that melting between Hinduism and Buddhism into the lifestyle.
Sure.
So that's what we're trying to portray in the lifestyle at the resort as well. So that place is completely different experience to what is here, and that's basically our motto also of our group. And the properties that we plan, they all have to be very unique and very authentic to the place where they're at. So if you're in Kathmandu, you need to feel, you need to smell, you need to taste Kathmandu, of course, in the most comfortable and best way. And then if you in Dhulikhel, you need to do the same for the location that you're at. So that place is completely about nature, about living in harmony with nature. So even when we were constructing the property, our building codes, where possible, we used traditional crafts. For example, we used lime and brick dust, which is a local traditional building method. In the fill-in walls, not in the structures, but in the fill-in walls, for example, to be environmental friendly. In the rooms itself, you'll find a lot of small little details that will always remind you of that lifestyle component of that you have in Nepal. So, for example, we have right outside each room, we have the holy basil. I don't know if you know, in Nepal you call it tulsi. It's a very powerful plant for the immune system, very big on antioxidant.
Well, I knew basil, but I wasn't sure that it was holy. That's kind of a cool concept.
If you smell it, it smells like basil and mint combined.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so it's like I don't know.
Do you put it in like a tea, or is it just something that's just for?
Exactly.
Okay.
They normally put it also in the food.
Okay.
But in the resort, we give you we have this fresh plant outside. You can pluck it, and you can put it into water or put it into your tea.
Oh, cool. All right.
And it's very good antioxidant, so very good for your immune system and so on. So small little things that enhance the experience at the resort. For example, we serve our water in copper glasses because those clarify the water and they take away all these microorganisms and adds the iron to the water, which is important for the body.
Yeah, of course.
We are, the Rudrakshas, which are the tears of Shiva. You must have seen them in the beads that people wear around their neck.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
So our covers for our curtains are made of these Rudrakshas.
That's
so it's
crazy.
That's again a surrounding that takes you to supposedly to good energies and.
I believe it. It does.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of energy, with the resort, what I was so impressed with were the wellness facilities and how I see a lot of the wellness term gets thrown around a lot, but I think not a lot of people, to be 100% honest, I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus. I don't think they know what they're talking about. They might have a ton of cash to build a beautiful facility, but when it comes to the actual treatments, the actual knowledge of the specialists and therapists, I think that they really miss the mark. Your facilities are completely authentic, so original and so pure. Could you tell us a little bit about the wellness facilities at the resort?
Yeah. So that's exactly right what you're saying. So we're not trying to give a wellness, we're trying to give a lifestyle. So it has to be incorporated in everything. So as I said, in the rooms, but also in the activities at the resort. So all the activities basically are coherent to each other. It's not only that you have massages and let's say yoga classes, which of course we have there. So we have very different kind of facilities that, let's say, would make your experience better for yoga. For example, we have a Himalayan salt room. So that room is made purely out of the pink salt.
So cool.
Which I think nowadays you can also find that in the US, the small pink salt.
Yes.
So that basically is very good for the skin, but also very good for your respiratory system. And people, for example, who are into yoga, they know that a big part of yoga is your breathing.
Yes,
during the different positions.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be, for example, very good if you would go to the Himalayan salt room, stay there for a bit, clear your breathing ways, breathe in, breathe out a little bit, and then do your yoga practices, which would be then enhancing.
Yes.
So another example that we have, for example, is our crystal room. So we've made a room that's made purely out of Himalayan crystals.
Mm-hmm.
So that room basically is there to do aura cleansing. So you must have seen that some people wear crystals around their neck that touches the skin.
Definitely.
So that's for aura cleansing. That's what's believed in the Ayurvedic philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And that again would be very good when you do your meditation. So if you would do a meditation in this kind of a surrounding, it would again enhance the effect and enhance the benefits of what you're doing. We have a lot of other facilities. We have a meditation maze,
mm-hmm.
which is a replica of one of the temples, meditation mazes that you find in Kathmandu. We have chakra rooms for private meditation on the hillside, where you can be in solidity and just meditate and get in the environment. So very calm environment. We have our own in-house Ayurvedic doctor for people who would like to consult and try to also to understand a little bit more about the concept and what is good for them and how to basically enter into this lifestyle.
I would imagine that guests are doing like long stays here, like at least 4 or 5 nights, maybe even more.
Yeah, so we have 2 kinds of guests coming. So one that comes at the end of their trip to just relax and that's normally about 2 nights, 3 nights.
That makes sense.
They just relax and they just, some of them already do yoga, do meditation. So they just join our classes. We have our meditation masters, yoga masters. So just join the classes and just take advantage of the facilities. But we also have like packages for long staying guests. So those start about 5 nights, up to 14 nights. So detox packages, yoga packages, cleansing packages, revitalization packages. So those people basically come just to take sort of a retreat. And then just rejuvenate and then go back basically. So they just come for the experience at the resort. Another thing which just comes to mind, which is also part of our lifestyle that we offer as the resort, is the food. So we have our own organic farms.
Cool.
So we have an organic farm, which is, we're on a hillside, on one hillside that faces towards the mountain. On the other hillside, you will find our farm. So everything is fresh, farm to table. And then, of course, if you do, for example, retreat packages, the head chef and the Ayurvedic doctor who takes in the lead in the package will then consult on, what kind of food is going to be prepared for our guests to enhance, again, the experience.
I think it kind of goes without saying, but I just want to make sure that it's said in the interview. You can cater to diets of all kinds, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Easy stuff for sure.
Yeah.
It comes up. I mean, obviously it's, it can be very sensitive and, people have celiac or gluten-free diets that they're absolutely critical, to stay to. So that's great.
Yeah. No, those we all cater to. And we have not only the farm in Dulika, but we have 6 different farms around the country to, support all our grains and vegetables. So everything is always fresh and organic.
That's awesome.
Just again, because it enhances the lifestyle, and this place is all about lifestyle.
Right. I'd imagine that. I know we're that rule of thumb is you're not supposed to date your interview or your podcast, but I'm going to break the rule and say, we're kind of in the middle of COVID right now, and I couldn't imagine a more proper place to do some social distancing than this property after everything's gone. So we'll make sure to put all the.
We'd be happy.
Definitely, man. Yeah, you and me both for sure. Now you've got these two, and I believe so. You've got the property here. You've got the property in Dulikhel, and I believe you might be expanding into Pokhara. Is that correct?
That's right. So we are planning our third property in Dampus, which is
Okay.
not exactly in Pokhara. It's about 20 minutes outside.
Okay.
It's basically where you start your Annapurna trek.
Right. Okay. So this
So
is
that's basically
adding
where
the
you would.
Annapurnas to your circuit, basically.
Yes.
Awesome.
So that's again, it's going to be again a different philosophy, different. Not going to be like Dulikil, but of course more similar to Dulikil than to what we have in Kathmandu.
Mm-hmm.
Also about lifestyle, but more an active lifestyle. It's going to be about we have a lot of forest around us in that property. It's again on the hillside overlooking the lake and the mount and the Annapurna region.
Beautiful.
So it's going to be a lot of activities like hiking, mountain biking, active yoga. So it's going to go towards that. So there we're still planning. So we're still conceptualizing exactly how it's going to look, how it's going to be. Everything has to fit in again towards
Sure.
that one message. So
Right.
we're planning to now with COVID, of course, it's put us back a little bit.
Yeah. But
Country has
everybody
been
back,
closed
sure.
for some time. Yeah. So
Sure.
we're planning in 3 years to open doors.
Well, that'll be an awesome, a new arrow in your quiver, especially for the active element of a trip. You've got your history and your culture in Kathmandu. You've got the wellness in Dulikil, and this will be great for the active market too.
Exactly, that's what we thought.
Yeah. I think a great idea. And to go along with all of this, especially in today's climate, when it comes to tourism, there's always this element of giving back in corporate social responsibility, community sustainability. Can you tell us a little bit about the approaches that you've taken in terms of being more involved with the community and what you've done over the years?
So, and then our number one rule basically in the company is to help the community help itself.
Mm-hmm.
So we're always trying to look at that. So also in the business, so we're trying to, in the business, we only have, let's say, Nepali employees. So we're trying to uplift also because Nepal really doesn't have a product of quality. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create a tourism product of high quality that can stand out there with the best of the world and can say, you know what, we in Nepal also can offer our own product, which is 100% authentic, 100% Nepalese, with Nepali people managing it, serving you, running it. That's one aspect of it, how we try to give it back to business also, not give the opportunities to people to grow, to become internationally present. Then, of course, we do outreach projects. So I think everyone knows that we had this terrible earthquake in 2015.
Awful.
Going back to 2015, actually my mother got a call 2 days after the earthquake. So they had 70 misplaced people.
70.
And 70. So they said, can you help us? We don't know where to go with them. Can you help us somehow? Do you know anywhere where we can take those people? They were evacuated from their homes where there were a lot of landslides, and they lived in these farmhouses which are made of mud. So these have all collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
And she then, after some phone calls, found a soccer field nearby, and during the time of the earthquake, we had a rescue team from the Omani government here, staying with us in the hotel, and they had, for their mission, they had brought desert tents. So my mom asked them basically, can I have your desert tents? Because I want to set up a camp for 70 people on a soccer field, which is like 5 minutes away from here.
Wow.
So they said, you know what? We donate this to you. Take this. Take those desert tents. And we took all our staff because we had all the infrastructure. So we have our engineering team who knows how to set it up. We have our cooks who know how to cook for 70 people. We have our housekeeping teams to beautify the inside. We took our old bed sheets, our old mattresses,
wow.
Our old towels.
I'm just kind of picturing these desert tents, this kind of like Lawrence of Arabia kind of a vibe in the middle of this soccer field in Kathmandu, it's just.
Yeah. And then 2 days later, we were 300. people suddenly. Man. So more people were coming, and then we said at 300, okay, we can't take more because we didn't have the capacity anymore.
Yeah.
So we basically took care of those people with the help of our friends. So we opened the foundation.
Okay.
For this, and people donated. Our friends donated. We put our money in, and we ran this camp for 2 years. With those families, they had kids, families that were even baby born within the camp.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So we tried to give them also jobs. So we tried to mediate. We gave them vocational training.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And then we started a project called Our Dream Village.
Mm-hmm.
So Our Dream Village was then to rebuild the houses that they had lost. So these were different small villages in the Sindhu-Palchuk area, and we wanted to help them rebuild. So it was about 240 houses which we wanted to help them rebuild, and we started then fundraising for that. And the men went into vocational training to be able to rebuild their own houses. So that was our deal with them. We guys gonna give you the money, the building materials, but you guys gonna build your own houses.
Yeah, yeah.
So
that's a different approach.
Basically,
I like that.
So what we did was then we said, we don't need to come with this new fabricated houses. We're gonna do the traditional ones, but we're gonna give you foundations. So we send up people. We send up 2 engineers to lay the foundations of every house, and then after that, the task was of the people themselves to rebuild in traditional styles their farmhouses.
Whoa, okay.
So that if the next earthquake hit, we have the foundations that they would be earthquake proof, so the building will not collapse anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
But the traditional architecture and traditional lifestyle would not be eradicated.
Affected by that, right? And I'd imagine, these are really, really rural communities, and without that kind of a lifeline that you set up for them, I'd imagine that things would have progressed, at a snail's pace, basically.
Yes,
so that's a really incredible story with what you did.
Yeah, it was a nice time. We had the kids here, and later on, once the parents went back and started rebuilding, started farming again, we still had the kids here because the school was also the school collapsed, so the kids couldn't go to school. So we opened a hostel for about a year. We rented a hostel where the kids stayed.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went to school here. There was about, I think, 76 kids.
Oh my gosh.
Which we had in the hostel. And then slowly, once the school was completed, then they moved back and they started going to school there. So that was how we just, our outreach project is more like we see some need and we try to help.
Yeah, and it's not something that you're doing it like for greenwashing or advertising that you see so much.
No, we actually don't even talk about it. If you look at our websites, or
you don't see it.
We don't want to talk about it because it's not part of a selling point to say this is something which we we're great people as we do this, so you come and book a place with us.
Right.
It's something because we believe we need to help, and we are the privileged people in this society. So, and we have the outreach to reach out to people like you and people who get the word out to do more and to see more, and use that context to help those people get back their livelihoods.
No, completely. And I see, doing that, putting that foot forward, the first, like, hi, check us out. This is what we're doing for a community. If that's the first thing you say, I always kind of have this element of that doesn't sound very genuine to me, so that's a really cool.
No, it doesn't. For me also, I don't like it. I don't like really talking about it a lot because it's nothing that I want to use as a selling point or want to see that people think, oh, there's a side, but no, it's not. It's just what we believe.
And we didn't even really discuss this to chat about it. Just kind of came up organically. So that's a really cool story. And that's, I guess, why we really do these things, is to get people in their live elements. So one thing that I do want to, before we kind of wind things down, I want to touch on the accessibility of Nepal. And coming from the US, when you go to Nepal, it's you can't, you can't, there's no joke around it. I mean, it's halfway around the world. But what a lot of people don't realize is how quick the connection can be. For example, I sit in San Francisco. It would take me 2 flights to get to Nepal with a stopover in Istanbul. And I believe, Doha or Dubai anyway. And there's so many cool places where you can even break up the journey to make it, to make it more accessible to you. What are some of the most common ways that guests are getting to Nepal?
So most of our guests from the US come through, as you said, Istanbul, so Turkish Airlines. A lot of them come with Qatar Airways, Doha. Then we have Etihad flying in through Abu Dhabi. We have Emirates and Fly Dubai. We have, I think also Oman Airways has a direct flight to the US, but I'm not sure which cities.
That was new at the pre-COVID. I'm not sure what it is now, but that's a fun stop.
And then if you want to go the other way around, so if you want to come through to the east, we have Singapore Airlines flying in. We have Thai Airways flying in.
Okay.
So there's a lot of carriers you can choose if you are either on the east coast or west coast of the US, whatever is easier.
Yeah, it's super accessible, I think, and that's really good to know, because people can either go all the way through, and what I would like to do is just go all the way through and at least take 3 nights to just chill and get your bearings, and then go out and explore all the incredible things that Kathmandu has to offer. Take advantage of some of the wellness opportunities before you go off and do your hopefully really, really enriching Nepal itinerary for sure. So before we close, is there anything that you would like, any parting comments from your side you'd like to tell the world?
We're looking forward to have this COVID thing as fast as possible over. Our government has stated that they're going to reopen for tourism in 17th of October.
Okay.
So that's,
you heard it here, 17th of October.
So 2 weeks. So I think about 2 weeks down the line. So we're happy for us to visit. We've been deprived from tourism for 5 months now, 6 months, I think.
I know. Yeah.
So come and visit as soon as you can, as soon as everything is safe for you guys.
All right. So now, okay, it's your fault now, because you said 17th of October. That means I've got to put this out next week. So I've got to prioritize you. I'm going to tell all my other friends, sorry, you got to back off. So we got to, that's awesome. Hey, no problem. This has been great. Well, listen, Vijay, I thank you profusely. I'm going to include the contact link below for any Nepali inquiries that we have. We'd love to use you. We can't wait to welcome guests to Nepal too. And
thank you.
Appreciate everything, man.
Yeah, thank you.
I saw you being served tea right before this. If it wasn't, I'm very jealous, but if I have tea right now, I will be up all night and I will be a walking zombie tomorrow, which I don't want. So enjoy your tea. Enjoy the beautiful day.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
All right.
And we're happy to be part of it. Take care. Thanks.
Right. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to Smart Aspirations. Justin Huff is the manager of Swaggy Swan Travel. For all travel-related inquiries, please visit www.swaggyswan.com. That's www.swaggyswan.com. And click inquiries. Have a stupendous day, and we'll see you next week.